Well, hello. How are you today? How's your week been?
Well, actually, Pete, how's your week been? What's been a joy for you this week?
A joy for me has been a couple of times we've got out for a bushwalk into the bush in a track near us, and as a family, it's been beautiful to connect with nature.
Yeah, that's good. For me, it's been watching the Paralympics and the way that some of these people have overcome such adversity in their life to do some pretty spectacular things. What about a struggle, a challenge this week?
Well, a challenge. I got my first COVID jab this week, and it kind of hit me a little bit, and it was a bit of a challenge to get over. What about you, Becky?
Yeah, I had a bit of a family situation, and with COVID, it's really tricky just being away, as many of you would know and have experienced yourselves as well. What about something that we can pray for you, Pete?
I think just us as a family making the most of this time where we're all together and that the joys come out the most.
Yeah, sounds good.
What about you?
Yeah, well, I've really been praying that our employees and our volunteers that are working frontline will just have a protection of God over them in this season for their health and well-being. And I'd love you to join me in praying for that too. Yeah.
Fantastic.
You know, these are three simple but quite meaningful questions that are great for when you call up a friend. I know we say it every week, but it's really important right now. We need each other right now, don't we? So when you call someone up, ask them these three questions. What has been a joy? What's been a challenge? And what can I pray for you? And see what they say.
These are great questions, Becky. You're right. And you know what? These are questions we can ask our friends and family that don't know Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's an opportunity for us to reach out in such a simple way without it being too complex, you know? And,
yeah, for sure.
Just some good things. And you know, we keep putting some resources together, and a couple of resources we have this week is a prayer for Afghanistan as well as a prayer walking guide. And you can find those on our website or in our newsletter, which is great.
Yeah, totally. And then, of course, we also want to reach up. So God is seen when we are one. That has been the national prayer focus, and we've been participating in that as well. So what has God been saying to you in this space?
Good question, Becky. What has God been saying to you in this space?
Well, Pete, I'm so glad you asked. There's a verse in Isaiah 61, and it says this: "Put on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of heaviness. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of his splendor."
What a great verse.
Yeah, isn't it just? And you know, in lockdown, there's some really great things that are happening, but there are some challenges as well. And there's these moments when we might feel heavy or burdened, flat, overwhelmed perhaps, sometimes even just bored. And this verse reminds us that the spirit of heaviness can be replaced with a garment of praise.
So what does that look like?
Yeah, well, I was thinking about this. You know, I have never once put on a garment without actually doing it intentionally. And it's a little bit the same. I don't look down and say, "Oh, I've got pants on today. How did that happen?" You actually have to intentionally put one leg in after the other to put your pants on, don't you?
Yeah.
And so we have the option of choosing our attitudes, of choosing our feelings, to intentionally take off that spirit of heaviness and put on a garment of praise.
You know, that reminds me of Psalm 100, where it says that we enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise.
Yeah.
For me, this says that the way we enter into God's presence is through thanksgiving and praise, and choosing to do that ourselves.
Yes, that's exactly right. And so one of the things that we have done in our house when someone's feeling a little bit flat or just not quite themselves is we've put on some worship music, some praise music.
Yeah.
And it is amazing just how the atmosphere of the whole house just rises. So that's our top tip for the week. If you're feeling a little bit flat or having a moment where just a bit sorry for yourself, stick on some worship music and see what God does.
So this week, let's reach up, let's reach in, and let's reach out and just see what God does.
Yeah, absolutely.
God
See
bless.
you.